Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest discovery any human being can make is this: you are not a prisoner of your conditions. You are a creator of your destiny. The life you are living today is not a result of fate, luck, or the mercy of chance. It is a direct reflection of your decisions, your mindset, and your daily habits. If you want to change your life, do not look outside for miracles, look inside for discipline. For it is not the giant leaps that build empires of success, but the quiet, steady footsteps of small habits repeated each day that shape character, fortune, and destiny. You don't need to be the most talented, the wealthiest, or the most connected. What you need is the courage to master the simple things and the patience to let them compound. Today I am here to give you 10 small habits, simple in appearance but mighty in impact, that if practiced daily will transform your life forever. These are not trends, these are truths. They have built legacies, resurrected failures, and turned ordinary people into legends. Let us begin. Wake up 1 hour earlier. There is a secret hidden in the early hours of the day, a quiet magic that belongs only to those who rise before the world. When you wake up 1 hour earlier, you do more than just gain time, you gain control. In a world that constantly demands your attention, early mornings give you a sanctuary of stillness, a space untouched by distraction or obligation. This is the hour where you are most connected to your inner self, your vision, and your intentions. While the masses sleep, you are building. While others dream, you are designing your day, feeding your mind, and aligning your actions with your goals. Waking up early isn't about torturing yourself with sleep deprivation. It's about reclaiming your life from chaos. It's about starting the day from a position of strength rather than reaction. Most people wake up and immediately dive into the stress of the day, emails, news, demands. But when you wake up an hour earlier with purpose, you are not reacting to the world, you're creating your own. That time can be used to read, journal, stretch, meditate, exercise, plan, or simply breathe. In that hour, there are no interruptions, no expectations, only intention. And the greatest gift of waking up early, momentum. When you start your day with clarity and action, you carry that energy into everything else you do. Your productivity rises, your stress decreases, and your confidence multiplies. You feel ahead because you are. You begin to experience life with direction rather than drift. Think of it like this. Every day is a battle. The earlier you wake, the earlier you armor up. If you wait until life comes at you, you will always be behind. But if you rise before it does, you will always be ready. Take the story of Ryan, a young marketing assistant stuck in a job he didn't love. He had a dream of starting his own consulting business, but by the time he finished work and dealt with the demands of life, he had no energy left. One day, out of desperation, he decided to wake up at 5 a.m. instead of his usual 7. In that hour, he worked on his idea, read business strategy books, and slowly built a plan. 6 months later, his side project was generating income. A year later, he quit his job to go full-time. That 1 hour changed his life, not because of the clock, but because of the commitment behind it. The truth is, your future isn't built in one grand gesture. It's built one small, intentional hour at a time. Wake up early, not just to start your day, but to start your destiny. Write down your top 3 goals every morning. The most powerful minds in history shared one habit. They wrote down what they wanted every single day. When you write your top 3 goals each morning, you are not just making a list. You are reinforcing your mission. You are reminding your brain what truly matters. You are planting seeds into your subconscious that quietly influence your thoughts, actions, and decisions throughout the day. Without this habit, most people spend their lives chasing distractions, pulled in 100 directions by noise and urgency. They react to life instead of directing it. But with this practice, you begin every day with clarity, with intention, and with the fire of purpose burning in your chest. The reason this works so powerfully is because repetition carves focus. Just like water cuts through rock over time, writing your goals daily cuts through confusion and resistance. You don't allow the world to decide your direction, you decide it. And by writing only 3 goals, you're forced to prioritize. You're not overwhelmed by a to-do list that stretches forever. You focus on the essential, on the impactful, on the goals that move the needle. This habit also trains your mind to filter opportunities and threats more effectively. When your goals are top of mind, you naturally begin to avoid tasks that don't serve them. You recognize distractions faster. You say no more easily. You develop a laser-like focus that most people never experience because they've never been clear on what they want in the first place. And over time, something remarkable happens. You begin to see patterns. You notice which goals show up every day. You notice which ones energize you and which ones fade away. This is where true self-awareness is born. You begin to learn who you are and what you really want, not just what you think you should want. Consider the story of Alena, a college student with no clear path. She felt lost, always busy but never moving forward. One morning, after hearing advice from a mentor, she began writing down her top 3 goals every day. At first, they were simple: get fit, build confidence, figure out my major. Over the weeks, those goals became more specific and focused. Exercise 4 times this week. Speak in class twice. Research psychology internships. 3 months later, she was not only more focused, she was more empowered. She'd chosen psychology as her major, landed a part-time research assistant job, and joined a fitness club. All because each morning she reminded herself what mattered most. You don't need a grand strategy to start changing your life. You need a notebook, a pen, and a few quiet minutes of honesty. Write your goals, not once, but daily. Let them sink into your soul. Let them guide your steps, and one day you look back and realize those 3 small lines you wrote each morning built a life that once felt impossible. Read 10 pages of a life-changing book daily. Books are the quiet mentors of the world. Within their pages lie the blueprints for success, happiness, wealth, confidence, and wisdom. And yet, most people ignore them. They search for secrets in podcasts, online hacks, and videos. But the real gold has always been in books. Reading just 10 pages of a life-changing book every day might seem small, but over time, it is transformational. That's 300 pages a month. That's over 3,600 pages a year. That's knowledge, strategy, philosophy, and mindset, compounded like interest in a mental bank account. When you make this a habit, you're not just reading words. You're expanding your mind. You're hearing the thoughts of the greatest thinkers, warriors, inventors, and leaders who walked before you, and slowly, without even realizing it, their courage becomes your courage. Their vision becomes your vision. Their discipline sharpens your own. People often say they don't have time to read, but the truth is they don't prioritize it. 10 pages takes 15 to 20 minutes. That's less time than a social media scroll or 1 episode of a show. The question isn't if you have time, it's what you're doing with the time you already have. 10 pages a day doesn't just educate, it recalibrates. If you begin your day with deep, valuable ideas, your actions will begin to match them. You'll make sharper decisions, speak with more depth, and think in a way that's rare in a distracted world. And it's not just about success. Reading helps you navigate pain, setbacks, relationships, and purpose. It gives you language for your own experience and insight into others. It teaches you how to think, not just what to think. Take the example of Garius, a warehouse worker with no formal education. Every day during his lunch break, he read 10 pages from personal development and business books. He didn't read to impress, he read to grow. Within a year, he'd read over a dozen books, including titles on finance, communication, and leadership. He applied what he learned to his job, started managing a small team, and even launched an online side business teaching productivity techniques. His friends noticed a sharper, more confident version of him. And when asked what changed, he simply said, "I read 10 pages a day." That habit alone gave him what school never had: belief, knowledge, and a path forward. You don't need to read a book a day to change your life. You just need consistency. 10 pages every day. Choose the right books, the kind that feed your ambition, build your skills, and challenge your limitations. Stack those ideas day after day, and one day someone will ask you, "How did you get so wise?" And you'll smile, knowing it all started with 10 simple pages. Practice the power of silence for 10 minutes daily. In a world addicted to noise, stillness has become a superpower. Most people wake up and immediately surround themselves with stimulation, music, news, social media, conversation. But the mind, just like the body, needs space to breathe. When you give yourself 10 minutes of silence every day, you are not doing nothing, you are doing everything that matters. In silence, your mind begins to organize itself. It sheds distractions, processes emotions, and clarifies your true desires. Silence is where your deepest wisdom lives. It is where you remember who you are. Practicing silence is not meditation in the traditional sense. It is presence. It is choosing to sit alone without the need to perform, consume, or respond. Just you, your breath, your thoughts, and your inner world. It is uncomfortable at first. Your mind may wander, resist, or try to escape, but with time you begin to settle. And in that settling you begin to see. You see patterns in your thinking. You notice the difference between your voice and the voices of others in your head. You begin to separate noise from truth. This simple habit brings clarity. It sharpens focus. It lowers anxiety. It increases creativity. It helps you regulate your emotions and face your day with power rather than panic. In silence, you stop being reactive and start being reflective. You start asking better questions, which leads to better decisions. Silence teaches you that peace is not found in escaping the world. It is found in facing it with a clear mind. You don't need a mountain, a temple, or a fancy ritual. All you need is 10 minutes. Sit on your bed, your floor, your chair, anywhere. Close your eyes, take deep breaths, and listen. Listen to your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts. Let them rise, let them pass. Let them teach you. That's all. Consider the story of Leah, a high-performing executive constantly overwhelmed with work and responsibility. She was sharp but always anxious, juggling meetings, deadlines, and decisions. One day her therapist recommended 10 minutes of silence each morning. No phone, no plans, no journal, just silence. Reluctantly, she tried it. The first week her mind raced, but by the third week she began to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Stillness, clarity, peace. Her mornings became calm. Her decision-making improved. Her stress dropped. She stopped reacting to life and started responding with purpose. She later said those 10 minutes became the most important part of her entire day. The world will never stop being loud, but you can choose to be still. You can choose to find strength in silence. 10 minutes. That's all it takes. In those 10 minutes, you reclaim your mind, your power, and your path. Practice silence, not to escape the world, but to master it from within. Do one hard thing you don't want to do. Every day, discomfort is the doorway to growth. Every day, there is something you don't want to do, something that feels inconvenient, uncomfortable, or intimidating. It could be a difficult conversation, a challenging workout, a task you've been procrastinating, or a step outside your comfort zone. And that's exactly what makes it powerful. When you train yourself to do one hard thing every single day, you build a habit of courage. You begin to rewire your brain to associate discomfort with progress rather than pain. You stop avoiding difficulty and start meeting it with confidence. Most people wait for motivation to face the hard things in life, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. What lasts is discipline. The inner force you develop by taking small steps into difficulty daily. When you deliberately choose to do what's hard, you prove something important to yourself. That you are in control, not your fears, not your emotions, not your excuses. Each time you face discomfort, you build mental toughness, and mental toughness is what separates those who dream from those who do. It's not about doing something extreme. It's about building the identity of someone who doesn't back down, someone who leans into resistance instead of retreating. That shift changes everything. Over time, these small victories compound. That call you didn't want to make, it opens a door. That workout you didn't feel like doing, it builds discipline. That honest conversation you kept avoiding, it deepens a relationship. The things we avoid are often the very things that lead us forward. And when you choose to face them daily, you create unstoppable momentum. Let's take the example of Marcus, a freelance designer with big goals but a habit of procrastination. He would often avoid the hardest tasks on his to-do list, pitching clients, updating his portfolio, or following up on late invoices. One day he made a rule. Every morning, before anything else, he would do one thing he was resisting. At first, it was painful, but soon he began to crave that sense of conquest. He felt stronger, more focused. Within 6 months, his client list had doubled, and he was working on bigger, more exciting projects, all because he stopped avoiding and started attacking one hard thing at a time. This habit isn't about punishing yourself. It's about building the muscle of action. Every hard thing you overcome is a weight lifted. Each one makes you stronger, more resilient, more capable. The truth is, the life you want lives on the other side of the things you're avoiding. And when you make facing them a daily ritual, you don't just change your habits, you change your identity. So wake up, look at your day, and ask yourself, what's the one thing I don't want to do? Then do it. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because you're not here to live a life of comfort. You're here to become someone extraordinary. Review your day for 5 minutes before bed. Every day is a lesson. Every moment offers a message. But unless you pause to reflect, those lessons are lost. When you spend just 5 minutes reviewing your day before bed, you shift from unconscious living to intentional growth. This simple habit helps you learn from your experiences, recognize your wins, and adjust your course. It's not about judgment, it's about awareness. And awareness is the beginning of mastery. Most people end their day with distraction. They scroll, binge watch, or collapse into sleep, carrying unresolved thoughts into tomorrow. But when you take 5 minutes to look back at your day, you give yourself the power to understand it. You ask simple but powerful questions. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? What did I learn? These questions don't just improve your future, they bring closure to your day. They help you release regrets, celebrate progress, and reset with clarity. This habit also builds self-responsibility. You begin to see patterns, how certain choices lead to stress or success, how certain people energize or drain you, how your time is either spent or wasted. And once you become aware, you can begin to change. You no longer repeat the same cycles blindly. You course correct. You grow. You can write these reflections in a journal, speak them out loud, or simply think them through in silence. What matters is consistency. 5 minutes each night without distraction. This short moment becomes your daily compass, keeping you on track with your goals, your behavior, and your personal standards. Consider the story of Elena, a small business owner constantly overwhelmed by her to-do list. Her days were packed, but she felt like she was spinning her wheels. One evening, after reading a book on high performance, she started a nighttime reflection ritual. For 5 minutes, she reviewed her day, wrote down what worked, what didn't, and what she'd improve tomorrow. At first, it felt insignificant, but after a few weeks, her awareness grew. She saw how much time she wasted on low-value tasks, how her mood shifted when she skipped her morning routine, and how her best days always started with planning. She adjusted accordingly. Within 3 months, her business revenues increased, her stress decreased, and she felt more in control than ever before. 5 minutes, that's all it takes. But in those 5 minutes, you meet yourself. You become your own coach, your own guide. You stop living life by accident and start shaping it by design. So before you close your eyes tonight, take a breath. Reflect. What did you learn today? What did you gain? What will you improve tomorrow? These quiet questions asked consistently will turn your days into stepping stones and your life into a masterpiece. Express gratitude for 3 things daily. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a force. It has the power to shift your mindset, rewire your brain, and transform the way you experience life. When you make it a habit to express gratitude for 3 things every single day, you begin to train your mind to see abundance instead of lack, to focus on what's right instead of what's missing. This practice grounds you in the present while preparing you for a better future. It's one of the smallest, simplest habits you can adopt, yet it delivers some of the greatest returns. Most people live in a state of silent dissatisfaction. They're chasing more money, more recognition, more progress, but they rarely stop to appreciate what they already have. That mindset creates a constant sense of deficiency, like nothing is ever enough. But gratitude breaks that cycle. When you consistently acknowledge the good in your life, no matter how small, you begin to feel full, not empty. You feel rich, not poor. You see opportunity, not limitation. This habit isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the gifts that are already present, even in the midst of challenge. Gratitude makes you resilient. It helps you reframe setbacks and appreciate the journey, not just the outcome. Over time, it creates a mental shift from complaint to contentment, from anxiety to peace, from fear to faith. It only takes a few minutes. Each day, either in the morning or before bed, write down 3 things you're genuinely grateful for. It could be your health, your family, a conversation, a small win, or even a mistake that taught you something valuable. The key is sincerity. When you feel the gratitude, not just think it, that's when the transformation happens. Take the example of Jerome, a corporate manager struggling with stress and burnout. He felt constantly under pressure, always focused on problems. At the advice of a mentor, he started a gratitude journal. Just 3 things every night. At first it felt forced. Grateful for my job, he wrote mechanically. But as the days passed, he began to go deeper. Grateful for my daughter's laughter tonight. Grateful for the unexpected compliment from a co-worker. Grateful I handled that meeting with confidence. Within a few weeks, Jerome felt lighter, calmer, more focused. He didn't change his environment, he changed the lens through which he saw it. That's the gift of gratitude. It doesn't require more from the world, it simply reveals more of what's already there. And the more you practice it, the more your life seems to rise to meet your appreciation. So take a moment each day, look around, look within, and say thank you, not because everything is perfect, but because there is always something worth honoring. When you express gratitude daily, you don't just change your mindset, you attract a life that feels rich from the inside out. Speak less, listen more. In the noise of life, wisdom often comes from silence. Most people listen to reply, not to understand. They wait for their turn to speak, constantly projecting their opinions, defending their point of view, or trying to sound impressive. But the truly wise, the truly powerful, listen more than they speak. When you speak less and listen more, you begin to absorb. You pick up on what others miss. Emotions behind words, unspoken needs, patterns of behavior, subtle opportunities. Listening is not passive, it is strategic. It puts you in a position of quiet strength. Speaking less isn't about becoming invisible or weak. It's about knowing when your words are valuable and when silence holds more power. It's about choosing your words like a sculptor chooses his tools, carefully, deliberately. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. People listen because they know you don't talk just to fill space. You speak to add meaning, and that distinction earns respect. Listening more helps you build deeper connections. People open up to those who genuinely hear them. You earn trust. You create influence. You gain insight that others miss because they're too busy talking. You learn from every conversation, every situation, every person. Even your enemies become teachers when you learn how to observe without reacting. This habit also sharpens your thinking. When you're not constantly expressing, you're reflecting, you're processing. You're learning to manage your impulses and respond with intention rather than emotion. In a world where attention is currency, being a good listener is a rare and valuable skill. It sets you apart. It makes you memorable. Consider the story of Nia, a young project manager in a fast-paced tech company. Surrounded by louder, more aggressive colleagues, she often felt overshadowed. But rather than try to compete with volume, she chose a different path. She listened. In meetings, she took notes, studied team dynamics, and understood what others overlooked. When she finally spoke, her words were precise, insightful, and impactful. Over time, she earned the trust of her team and leadership. She didn't dominate conversations. She mastered them through presence and precision. That quiet strength led to a promotion, and she became known as someone whose opinion always carried weight. This is the power of listening. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's deeply effective. When you master the art of listening, you become a student of human nature. You gain emotional intelligence. You start understanding motives, detecting patterns, and making better decisions. You're no longer reactive. You're strategic. Don't make this a daily habit. Speak less, listen more. In conversations, resist the urge to jump in. Be present. Ask questions. Let people finish. Observe the energy in the room, the tension in voices, the meaning beneath the words. And when you do speak, speak with clarity, conviction, and calm. In the silence you choose, you will find your greatest strength. Because the world may admire loudness, but it listens to those who speak with wisdom. Track one habit that matters. Progress begins with awareness. And the best way to build awareness is to track one habit that truly matters to you. Whether it's reading, exercising, waking up early, drinking more water, or spending less time on your phone, choosing one meaningful habit and tracking it daily creates clarity, consistency, and momentum. This is the secret to building discipline, focusing on less, but doing it better. When you track something, you bring it into the light. You take it from vague intention to visible action. And what gets measured gets managed. Most people fail not because they lack ambition, but because they try to change too many things at once. Their energy is scattered, their focus divided. But when you narrow it down to one habit and give it your full attention, you create a ripple effect. Success in one area often leads to improvement in others. This daily tracking serves as both motivation and accountability. Each check mark becomes a tiny victory. It's a visible record of your discipline, your commitment. Even when the motivation fades, as it always does, your system remains. That single act of tracking keeps your intention alive. It turns behavior into routine and routine into identity. And the beauty of this habit is that it's flexible. You can track your progress in a journal, on a habit app, or on a simple calendar. The format doesn't matter. The consistency does. What matters is that every day, without fail, you return to your habit and record your action. One small commitment, one daily decision over time that builds trust with yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of every great life. Take the example of Darius, a high school teacher who wanted to improve his physical health but always struggled to stay consistent. Instead of trying to overhaul his entire lifestyle, he made one commitment: walk 8,000 steps every day. He printed a calendar, stuck it on his wall, and marked each successful day with a bold red X. The first week was hard. Some days he had to pace around the living room late at night just to hit his goal. But he didn't break the chain. Week after week, the red X's multiplied. Soon, walking became automatic. Then, without trying, he started eating better, sleeping earlier, and feeling more energized. That single habit became a cornerstone of his transformation. It wasn't the steps, it was the commitment. That's the power of tracking one habit that matters. It's not about perfection, it's about showing up. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves. And once you do that, you stop relying on willpower. You start relying on identity. You no longer try to be disciplined, you are disciplined. So choose your habit, just one, commit to it, track it daily, and watch what happens, not just in that one area, but in every area of your life. Because small hinges swing big doors, and one focused habit can unlock your greatest potential. Visualize your ideal future for 5 minutes a day. Your mind is the architect of your reality. Every choice, every action, every outcome starts with a thought, and what you focus on grows. When you take just 5 minutes each day to visualize your ideal future, you create a mental blueprint for success. You begin to see clearly the life you want, and more importantly, you start to feel as if that life is already within your reach. This simple practice of visualization helps align your subconscious mind with your conscious goals, turning dreams into direction. The power of visualization lies in its ability to make the abstract concrete. It moves your dreams from the realm of imagination into a visual, emotional experience. When you vividly imagine your desired future, you not only clarify your goals, you begin to feel the excitement, the pride, the satisfaction of having already achieved them. This emotional connection is what fuels motivation and drives action. The brain cannot distinguish between a real experience and one vividly imagined. So, when you visualize your success, you start training your brain to believe it is possible, and when your mind believes something is possible, your actions begin to align with that belief. The best part is, you don't need to be a skilled meditator or have hours to spare. You simply need 5 minutes of focused, purposeful visualization. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and see your ideal future. Imagine yourself in that future, how you look, how you feel, what you're doing, and who you're with. The more details you can add, the more powerful the experience. Whether it's a career milestone, a personal achievement, or a lifestyle you desire, picture it clearly and vividly. Hold the image with emotion. See yourself already living that life. Consider the story of Tanya, a young woman working 2 jobs while studying for a degree she hoped would lead to a better career. Her days were packed and she felt overwhelmed. One day she learned about the power of visualization and decided to give it a try. Every morning before she started her day, Tanya spent 5 minutes imagining herself graduating with honors, securing her dream job, and living in a beautiful apartment she had always wanted. At first, it felt like wishful thinking, but as the days went by, the images became more real. She started making decisions aligned with her visualizations, taking on projects at work that would improve her resume, networking more, and prioritizing her studies. Eventually, she graduated with honors, landed the job of her dreams, and found herself living the life she had visualized. It wasn't magic, it was focus, belief, and consistent action guided by a clear mental image. Visualization is more than daydreaming, it's a practical tool for success. It connects you with your goals on a deeper emotional level and primes your mind for achievement. So, take 5 minutes every day to visualize your ideal future. Let it inspire you, motivate you, and guide you. Your future begins in your mind, and by seeing it clearly, you make it inevitable. My friends, life does not change by accident. It changes by alignment, by aligning your habits with your highest self. These 10 small habits are not tricks, they are truths. They do not demand talent, they demand intention. They do not promise overnight miracles, they promise lifetime transformation. You cannot build a mansion of destiny on the foundation of laziness, doubt, or distraction. You must build it brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. Today you have a choice. You can leave here inspired, or you can leave here transformed. Adopt one habit, then another, then another. You will feel the shift. You will see the results. And one day, someone will ask you, what changed your life? And you will smile and say, it began with the smallest things, and that made all the difference.